Hello everybody, welcome back to Hot Seat with Penzola. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is a show that is aimed at deconstructing our societal norms as well as challenge some of the unwritten rules that we live by as a society. Today I'm talking about women agenda movements. I think as a result of what women are going through around the world, especially in South Africa as well, in terms of gender-based violence, and in terms of all other sorts of discrimination against women, we're finding that there's more and more movements that are coming up. There's more organizations that are focusing on women, and that's really what I want to unpack today. And I have invited Amanda and Vanya, who belong to Wild Women's Sisterhood in South Africa, and we really want to just unpack this topic of why is there need for women to pull together and drive a particular movement in order to protect themselves. Ladies, thank you so much for joining me on Hot Seat with Penzola. It is such a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
Cool.
It's great to be here.
Before we start talking about the topic today, which is movements by women for women, talk to me about the roles that you guys play in the Wild Women's Sisterhood. Amanda, do you want to start?
I can. Okay, basically it's about community.
Yeah.
Okay, and empowerment, uplifting each other up. It's about networking.
Yeah.
And we came a long way as women. And if you look at history, men usually had brotherhoods, and they had even gentlemen's clubs. And
they still do have gentlemen's.
They definitely do have. So what I think happened in the last few years is that women, we have the need to start to collaborate with one another and to empower each other and to also uplift each other. And we all have the same issues. And if you look at where we come from, and even in South Africa, if you look at our history in South Africa, women were always second-grade citizens, if you can say that, for most of South African history.
Yeah.
So things have changed a little bit after 1994, okay, but we are still trying to achieve that concept of equality.
Correct.
And I think with the Wild Women's Sisterhood, what it actually entails is the fact that you need to embrace your natural femininity, and not look at all the constraints of society as to what is expected. I'm a woman, I have to be like this, I have to think like this, I have to do this.
The societal norm,
It is, absolutely. And we have a lot of rules and regulations in comparison with men when it comes to the game of courtship, for instance, and I just feel women need to start collaborate with one another so we can find that unity, and we actually get along, as opposed to before we were way more competitive, and it's getting a little bit better. And because of the fact that we are now part of the economy, we can also contribute. We can have jobs now, and we can sustain ourselves. Yeah. So we are living in interesting times, and definitely where women are starting to get empowered. And I think there are going to be quite a lot of changes.
Vanya, anything to add to that?
Oh yeah, I think Amanda's just really summed it up nicely. And she also mentioned something that's quite important about celebrating our femininity and unity.
Yes.
It's really also about celebrating diversity as a country.
Right.
If you think South Africans have never been taught to work together, we all have this big diversity that we're living with, and it's like, how do we hone it in? How do we make sure that it benefits us?
We're not tapping into it. Yeah.
Definitely. So she speaks of celebrating our femininity, and this is some of the things that women bring into the workspace. For long we thought we had to compete with men, we had to be equal to men, and it's a completely different thing. We bring a completely different skill set, and what movements like the Wild Sisterhood do is they say to women that we allow you're allowed to be that. Go out there and express yourself. Meet other women who are trying to do the same things as yourselves. Yeah. Because also what's also important is that you should role models are very important. I have a daughter who's 20, and one of the things she keeps saying when I tell stories, she's usually saying, "Oh, but you guys, it's like heroes when you're growing up." I'm like, you also do have heroes, but the only difference is that ours were highlighted, maybe because of a few, so we knew who they were.
Correct.
But there's so many amazing things that have happened, so many just great things that have happened, and women around the world need to unite and progress. As much as we've like made so many strides, like there's still so much. There's still so many people who are. And one of my favorite poets says, just because you've been marginalized and oppressed doesn't mean that you don't marginalize and oppress elsewhere. So you've got to keep yourself in check. You know, we've got to build, we've got to move forward. And so you asked what our roles are. Suppose I mean, Amanda's a founder and I'm a contributor, but I think of myself as a beneficiary, because it's, you know, as somebody who sits there. Getting empowered and enjoying the sisterhood. Like she was saying, it's upliftment. It's about being community.
Correct.
It's about being real community. Because half the time people say, I'm part of a certain community. It's like you're representing people you've never met or you don't know. But so we are a real community. Join and you become part of the sisterhood.
Talk to me about the wild part. You know, when someone says wild, I like it though.
Well,
I really
do have it.
But,
yes,
but talk to me about that.
Because it really speaks to your heart.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think I have a bit of wildness as well. But like, what was that? What was the thought behind this wild?
Okay, wild is an international concept. So it basically started with the book that came out in 2014, Women Who Run with Wolves.
Yeah.
Okay, and about women embracing their natural state. So I've noticed that with, especially in South Africa, because we are very religious in South Africa, that in comparison with all the other wild sisterhoods in the world, we are actually a little bit slow. So the moment, yes, very conservative, yes, very. So, you know, the first thing people would think if you're a wild woman is you are maybe dancing on tables, or you are, yes, or you're a witch. Oh, yes, exactly. There's a lot of connotations.
But then again, there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
So
Well,
there's nothing wrong with
wild.
dancing on a table and being wild. If that's what you want to do, right?
But in a
Totally.
well, in a very conservative environment, you know, especially with ladies, I've noticed with lots of church groups actually ask me what is this wild part, and so we try to explain it. We said it's about a woman in a natural state.
Yes.
That's actually
That's
what it is,
actually
and
what
we
it is.
connect because women have
Going
always
back to
actually.
I like that.
Going back to
Exactly.
sensibility.
Yes, I like that.
Absolutely.
Connecting to nature,
Yes.
finding your wild.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes,
And
your
I also like,
authentic
I
self.
also like the
Yes.
part where you said we're not competing with men. I'm
No.
certainly
No,
not
not
trying
at
to be a
all.
guy.
That's a low.
No.
That's a low bar.
You know,
Absolutely.
I really like that, and I probably want to go back to it later.
Yes.
So you guys might have answered this question already, but why do you specifically think that there's now a hype around, you know, women movements? You know, there's a lot of organizations now that are coming up. You know, and I saw some of them when you see all these the marches around gender-based violence. Why do you think that? What's driving that? And I think you might have touched on it in what you've said previously. You know, why do you, in your opinion,
Well,
what's driving these movements?
We are at this, as I said before, we are in very interesting times, and the fact that women are now being part of, you know, the economy and decision making.
Yes, yes.
And you know, it's a transition. It's quite a bit, and in this case, women and sisterhoods. If you think of all the brotherhoods previously, and men that used to collaborate and network. But they were already part of the economy and driving industries. So now we're part of that same arena. So it's important for us to collaborate, and there is definitely a huge problem with domestic violence. The United Nations currently started this shadow pandemic. I don't know if you read about it. And it's actually a global problem, domestic violence and gender-based violence. But South Africa's stats are definitely highest in the world, especially with rape and sexual assault. And what
that is our biggest problem.
It is really, and it's something we need to really address as women. And you know, to say we have more value in society, and what is our value adding as mothers, as daughters, as wives, as sisters, and where we can actually, people can start to look at us in a different light. Absolutely. So
are we seeing any results though in these movements? They are there, and we're driving. There's marches. There's You know, there's the noise. I'm hearing voices. Are we seeing results in terms of the transformation of the behavior? And I ask this because, you know, in many cases that I've read where there was a rape case, you know, it is the women that defend the men that are accused of rape.
Yes.
You know, so are we seeing results? Are we what is your thoughts around that?
I think we are seeing a bit of results. You said earlier, what has changed? How come it seems like there's a lot more awareness?
Yes.
I think also because the world has changed. We live in a world of social media. We are all now publishers.
Yeah.
In the past,
actually,
if you had an issue, you would have to call someone who's going to call someone, and your issue might make it to a national platform and become an issue of national agenda. But now you can connect to so many people in the world, you know, by just pressing your cell phone. So that has meant that people are more aware of the issues. But also, I just think as a world, we are now more aware of our power. The protest culture has become stronger. We also realize that it's not enough to go and place a mark every 4 years about issues we feel strongly about. We must go out there, we must protest, we must live in between, we must hold people accountable.
Yes, yes.
And so I think that, and also the new generation, the kids that are coming up after us, 60% of them their decisions are based on their consciences.
Yeah.
They will not work for a company that ill-treats people. They will not buy from us. They don't want to take it. They are really putting their money where the mouths are, or where the hearts are. So they're demanding more. I mean, you know that activist girl about the environment. She was 12 years old. Then she's decided to take on the world. She's now 18. So you can see how the world has moved on, and that's what it's about.
Yeah.
And also another thing is women, like Amanda was saying, we are an integral part of the economy. If you want to fix the economy, if you want to fix the country, you've got to fix the women.
You have to be inclusive.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And if you have a problem, if you perceive it as women are taking the men or the strong are taking the weak, you can't do much about the strong. So you better strengthen the weak, fortify the weak.
Correct. Yes.
And that's where
Yes,
we
the
are
perception
at.
of weak. Okay.
The
Perception
of
in
weak.
actual fact.
So
because,
educate women, make them feel strong, empower them. You know, make them turn things around. They can run away from the wolves. Let them run with the wolves now. Or better, let them become the wolf.
In fact.
Absolutely. We should actually have one like we run with the lions in South Africa and Africa.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is quite interesting and in terms of where, when it comes to the myth or the, I say a myth because I don't believe in it, but the whole concept of women not supporting each other and women, you know, pulling each other down. I actually did an episode on the pull it down syndrome because it does actually exist. So, I'm interested to understand how that pull it down syndrome plays out in the women movement, because these movements are by women for women, and you know, where does that concept then, you know, how does it play? Or
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it is, to me, I was actually attending a seminar on gender-based violence.
Yeah.
And specifically for that reason, women actually putting each other down. So, and how women actually somehow contribute to gender-based violence at the same time, because they can. One woman will get beaten up, and then at the end of the day, the mother and the sister will stand with the brother or the perpetrator who is actually beating up this poor girl. It does happen. And in this gender-based violence seminar, they said that we actually have the power within ourselves to start and change our mindset and start to realize that we actually always had the power. And for some reason, we have forgotten that completely. As mothers, like the old saying goes, the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world. So it's your example, like Vanya said, that absolute role play of females in society and the effect that we really have. So it started with, it was five key reasons as to how women actually contribute to GBV. Firstly, by the other one putting the other one down, and also society and cultural conditioning by saying, if you marry, that is a major achievement in life. So in other words, this little girl her a goal as a little girl was a boy was taught, oh, I'm going to become an engineer, I'm going to become a pilot one day. This little girl is basically taught that, oh, I want to get married and find a great husband one day. You know, even if you look at all the fairy tales and the princes, so that we all have, you know, certain preconceptions as little girls. So finding a husband as a goal in life will generally, another female would be in actual fact be a competitor. If you need to find a husband in terms of a goal.
Somehow,
exactly. If that's your life goal, for example, with another man would rather, if he wants to become an engineer, he would try to study harder than the next guy next to him. For example, work harder to get the job. So if a girl's goal is to get married, what will you know what will her
values,
values will have, which I've
absolutely.
noticed. And then at the end of the day, these girls, because it was their a goal in life, they didn't really invest in themselves in terms of education and skills, because they thought, when I get married, to become a mother and a wife is in actual fact an achievement.
Sure.
So and also the fact that it's also difficult. It was very difficult for women up till now to really become part of the working environment, because it was also already established and quite competitive, and we had to see how we are going to add value, and some women took an easier route and got married. So I think we still have quite, a lot of issues that we need to discuss in terms of
I agree, because it sounds
Yes.
like we ourselves are a biggest contributor into this, and
but I don't necessarily think it's a woman problem. I think it's that becomes really a people problem. I think it's just another thing, like when you're in a movement, the thing I've noticed about societies and even in the workplace, where as a woman leader, so you're doing your thing and you're getting up there and it looks like, other people are pulling you down. But I think what usually happens is, yes, people start to envy what you do.
Right.
But it's not necessarily a bad thing. They want what you have. So it is up to you as a woman leader to be responsible and make sure that you're not rising alone, guys. It's natural for people to want to want what you have.
It is.
Create room for them. Make them inclusion.
Inclusion.
That's
That's
the big one. Inclusivity. Be inclusive in your growth. And I'm sure even it's like even in your circle of friends or in your family, you don't try to rise alone, because you don't want to go and sit in Mauritius by yourself, surely. You want to go with
I need someone to come with me.
You need other people to go with you. So as people, we need to help each other. So if you're in a movement, create room for other people to rise with you. And I don't think they will necessarily pull you back that much if they understand. Because what happens is they want what you have now, they feel guilty. Next thing, there's mistrust. But it's okay for them to be also ambitious. For you to say, you know what, guys, let me go forward. This is all our agenda. I go ahead. And this is how you are also going to come up. What are your personal ambitions? It's like in business these days, whatever, first thing we do, we ask people, what are your personal ambitions? What do you want?
Because that determines a lot of your behavior.
Right.
If your goal is clear in terms of what you want.
Be transparent. Let everybody else know. So this is not the next level, what we need to do as women. Let's create room for each other. And also create allies, people that will support you, so people know what's going on. So you're a woman leader of this movement. So your chairmanship, it's 5 years. So create somebody who's coming. Let them know that, so you have this opportunity now to replace me. Then I don't see like they'll sabotage you as such if they understand. Or they might seem unsupportive because they don't understand. That's the first thing. The second thing is one of my favorite documentary makers is called Michael Moore. He says sometimes if you follow the money, you'll always follow the truth. In these situations where a woman gets raped and you find that it's women not being supportive, it's usually a case of the man is powerful, the man's got money, the man's glamorous.
Exactly,
There is nothing to be gained in supporting the woman. It's not a woman issue. It's a money and a power issue. And if we can learn to sometimes separate those things, then we can get to the truth. Get to these people that are supported, because now they confuse the issues. Like suddenly they're making it justifying the rape case. Meanwhile, all they're interested in is the money that this man can provide.
Wow.
And sometimes if you just get to that, the issues become a lot clearer.
That's why this empowerment and
Yes, let people understand.
upliftment and
Yes.
strategies.
Give
It's
people
important,
tools.
absolutely.
In movements like the Wild Women, this
Yes.
is where we discuss these issues as women. We start to understand, like, even gender-based violence, it's like, if it's like to a woman, listen, you do have options. So we knew that.
Yeah.
But other kids don't.
Yes.
Nobody's
Because
ever told them
it's
that.
actually leading me to, I mean, you're touching on it now, and I was going to ask to say, out of all these movements, there's so many movements. You know, what do you guys think you're doing that is actionable, that's transformational? You know, like you're saying, you are having these conversations because if Penny is being abused and Penny doesn't understand that she actually does have an option.
Yes.
Because she doesn't work
Yes.
and she relies on this husband
Yes.
for money. You know, what else are you guys, you know, what other conversations are you guys having in ensuring that you reach out to those that are in need?
Yes, that is the main, I would say, idea of the Sisterhood, to have these kinds of open discussions. But I've noticed that lots of ladies are still a little bit shy to really discuss, due to what we've mentioned before, okay, with women having difficulty standing together. So
You're
with
going to upset your husband.
yes, it's gonna yes, and
withhold
maybe
the
there's another
allowance.
lady that's gonna tell my husband, you know, as well. So for us, we need to try to establish that trust between women.
Yeah.
And how we can empower and uplift each other. So, for example, if I start a business, then I would employ another 2 younger girls, or, you know, and that's how the change starts. And I always say that's how we turn the economy. Humans in general, you know, are competitive, okay, in every aspect.
Yeah.
So it
It's a
depends on
human
your
phenomenon.
goals. That's what I discussed before. It depends on your goals. We're either going to take each other out to find a husband, or
Yes.
we can uplift and upskill each other, change our mindset,
So
and
we
see
are
how can we
financially
turn the
stable.
economy and how can we bring our skills together. Have these discussions. What situation are you basically in now, and how can we assist? So we are starting to collaborate with female organizations and women's shelters as well.
Yeah.
So we can at least refer these ladies as to say, listen, we can find a person for you that can help you. This is a number that you can contact. Here is a job opportunity. So it's as well about collaboration and networking continuously, and finding that trust to say, I'm actually safe here. And, you know, these women are open for communication and open-minded. And that's what the Wild is all about, to say, we are not restricted to certain concepts and ideas and societal norms, what is expected from us. We are here to assist you as to who and what you are as a female and your importance in society and in life.
And how's the growth? I mean, you mentioned earlier on around, you know, some of the women being shy to actually talk because they don't trust that, you know, maybe what they'll say will stay in that space.
Yes.
Or they're not shy, they're scared.
Or you've never been important.
Yes,
in
Yeah,
your
they're
absolutely.
scared.
You didn't
And
have
Your
that
voice never is
Yeah.
important.
So-
You're the joke.
You know, obviously during the
Those
times,
families where the
It is.
mother's the joke.
yeah,
It
and obviously
is.
during the times of COVID, where
Oh.
you know the interactions are quite difficult, and you know trust is built in building, you know, the actual relationships and interacting more. How are you guys finding the obviously, I mean, everybody's had to go virtual. You know, how's the growth? Are people interacting
More
with
than-
you guys?
Yes,
more?
it is actually now on the site, absolutely. And
Yeah.
ladies are coming out with very motivational posts, and I've started to see that some are coming out and, you know, discussing certain personal problems. And I can proudly say, since our inception, we didn't have any post where another woman will put another woman down. It's absolutely really about upliftment and empowerment. So the ladies are getting the idea, and we're working towards it slowly. I've noticed that with the other Wild Women Sisterhoods in the world, they have a lot of members. I'm talking about 50,000 plus. Okay, we are now reaching 3,000. So
That's good. That's good.
yes, and
but we'd rather have a more slow organic growth.
yes, very.
That's more
Yeah.
sustainable over
Correct.
time.
It
And
is,
also
absolutely.
not to just have numbers, to have people who
Yes.
genuinely believe.
I was about to say, I mean, you
Yes.
know, the 50,000 plus, is it interacting? The
Quite a
50,000
bit,
plus,
and
you know?
it's sometimes you can say it's a Jerry Springer show if you sometimes look at the conversations and the
Yeah.
conflicting ideas.
Yeah.
And what we've also, you know, started in the Wild Women Sister group is to say, don't bring in personal belief systems, because let's look at what unites us as to what sets us apart. Let's look at us.
Yes, to find things that
so I must say, from our side, we've done quite well, and in maintaining the group, and it's really growing. And I see there is a network starting. So yes.
And then individually, I mean, would you, what are your stories around other relationships with women, and what have you done to empower other women? what have other women done for you to empower you?
So for me, what the big difference. I mean, people talk of leadership style. I think it's a good thing that you ask, because I think we speak of a feminine leadership style as opposed to a masculine leadership style, and people are sitting there thinking, what does that mean?
Yeah.
For me, one of the great things, so I was brought up like in a very male-dominated environment. People I looked up to were all male and they were strong.
Real patriarchy.
Yeah. So when I went into the workplace, I brought that energy.
Correct.
But fortunately, my first bosses were female, but they all behaved like males.
Yeah.
So that thing perpetuated.
Yes.
Actually,
and then when
it made it normal.
Yeah, and then when I rose, also my bosses were male who still had that behavior. And then one time, when I just had a baby and I started the business and I needed a bit of work, then I went and worked at Transnet, and my boss was a lady. What a difference it made! I don't know, so I'm coming back from work and I didn't really want to work, but I needed the money.
Yeah.
And I just had a baby. All I wanted to just be at home.
Yeah.
And I said the thing that I thought I wouldn't say. Somehow I just mentioned something about breastfeeding. I thought, oh. And then she said, oh, are you a new mother? And I said, yes. And she said, oh, so you're enjoying the joys of motherhood. And I thought, oh, so it's normal. And for the first time, having a female boss made such a difference that we could talk about that.
And you can relate to it.
Yes, and it was not permission to, okay, so you can be slack then, you can be late, you can be untied because you're a new mother.
Yeah.
But it just made such a difference. And then even when we traveled, my husband one day phones at 7 o'clock, phones my boss because he can't get hold of me.
Yeah.
Like in the hotel room, I'm like, you don't call my boss to come talk to me. She understood. As a woman that she just didn't freak out, because I thought if it was a man, it just wouldn't have worked out.
No, it wouldn't have worked out.
Yes.
Like, why are you calling me?
So it's all those things where she became herself.
Yeah.
She didn't think it's not done, how dare, So it's all those things where you do what's natural.
What's natural.
But also applies even to solving problems that, we bring a different skill as women, even to problem solving.
Definitely.
Don't restrict yourself. And in seeing other women rising, that visibility, we are helping other women know they can do things.
Yes.
Like one of my favorite girls who later became a CEO of a top 500 Fortune company said, for instance, in Japan, they wouldn't allow women to make sushi. And they would say, because women's body temperatures are warmer, higher than men. So it's bad. But it had never been proven.
What?
Exactly.
Nobody had ever proven
it. It became an unwritten rule, right?
Yes, and no women would make sushi.
Yeah.
So you can imagine that no child is going to grow up saying, I want to be the master sushi maker.
Yes.
You've never seen someone make
You've
sushi.
never seen someone.
A woman. And that's what role modeling is about.
Correct.
It's about being visible. If you're doing something good, let's build a profile. Those women who are doing great work, like a network like Wild Women's Sisterhood, that's what it's there for, to profile these women who are doing good. So other kids can
create
be like,
role models.
yes, because that's what we want to give those young girls options.
Yes, definitely.
So we can start to tackle that gender-based violence, that it's okay to be beautiful and look after yourself and earn your money and still have a normal relationship with men. That's still okay. Or not have one.
Or not have one. Or choose not to have one. Yeah.
Yes.
Like Cher said, her mother said, Cher, you're such a success. I wish you would just settle now and find a rich man. I said, Mom, I am the rich man.
That sounds like Cher. That sounds like an interview with Cher, when she's like, Mom, I am a rich man.
I am the rich man.
So if you are the rich man, why are you looking for
I actually wanted to mention it as well. It's like, yes, and that's definitely what we want to achieve.
Yeah.
And from my side, and my story is why we started the Wild Women's Sisterhood initially, and I got all the ladies involved, all the empowered women. We started the first girls rugby team in 1995, which was quite a culture shock.
1995.
Yes, the first in our town, and it was in the newspapers as well.
Yeah.
It's a small town, it's Krugersdorp. And it was quite controversial because for the first time,
Women
ladies,
playing rugby, wow.
they were actually more worried about, are we meeting each other up after school and we're going to practice our rugby game and then we're going to meet up together at each other's house. So boys weren't even in this, as part of the discussion. We started to learn to actually enjoy each other.
Wow.
And the boys in school,
It's something
That's
positive
such a
bringing
lovely
you
story.
together.
very. And if I look at that photo, because we had the photo on the Wild Women Sisterhood group as part of motivation for girls.
Yeah.
And I can remember we started quite a few discussions in town as well. And today, if I look at them, they're all successful women. And of some of them actually won the Sunderland Businesswoman of the Year.
Wow.
Then we've got a girl that started her own auditing firm. Some are actually not married, and even the ones that are married have their own businesses, and they run marathons. And they
It's so
are
important. The
I know, right?
The storytelling is so
I know.
important.
great inspiration. And girls after that, I can remember even 5 years after you matriculated, they'll come and say, "Oh, you those girls that started the girls rugby team. Everybody's
Yeah,
still talking about you."
That was a
so
game changer, right?
It was. It
Yeah.
definitely
But
was
also
in
what I'm
town.
loving is how you transferred that winning spirit from the
Yes.
rugby field
Yes.
onto the business world. You went in one life.
Absolutely.
And that's what we need to encourage in society, our kids to play sports. That's why
It
young
is
girls
very important
go
for them
out
to play.
and play
Yes.
sport.
Yes, absolutely. And it's part of that drive as well. And if I look at
That
us,
winning
yes,
culture, get used to
Yeah.
winning.
Yes.
Enjoy winning, bro.
even with us today, we'll contact each other if we need a contact or somebody needs to assist another one. And so, what do
The
you
support.
suggest?
You
what do you think
created
I
a
should
support
do?
structure.
Yes,
Yeah.
It's
no,
so important.
absolutely.
Also, that thing of having a soundboard as girls.
Yes.
Because like even with me, before I do anything, like even if I want to create a product, it's a much different product if I speak to other people. Like even
Yes.
if it's 3 people, like
Yeah.
what do you think of this?
Yeah.
Than me doing it on
Then
my own.
you doing it on your
And,
own,
and
yes.
that's also has been part of the cornerstone of men's success stories. That's being a soundboard for each
It
other.
is,
Whereas
absolutely.
with women, we've been isolated. Like when you're success, you by yourself.
Yes,
You
don't
drink-
say anything.
Yeah, don't
yes,
tell. They're gonna
somebody
pull you
might
down.
come.
Don't
They're
tell
gonna
them.
put you down.
Or they don't tell
exactly.
the
They'll
idea.
steal your
It is,
idea.
it is.
Whereas men
Yeah.
have created those support structures for themselves.
Yes.
Where you are allowed to come and bounce your
Actually,
ideas
yes.
with us in a safe space.
Absolutely,
We will not
collaborate,
steal your ideas.
and that's what we're trying to
It's actually
achieve.
very
Is to
interesting what
exactly
you're
have
saying.
to.
I actually read an article the other day, and I also heard the same thing in a leadership program that I attended.
Yes.
The stats are saying that if as a woman today I got diagnosed with cancer, I will have lots of women around me to support me.
Yes.
Or if a family member passes away, women will drop whatever that they're doing and they'll come support me. But if I got a job as a CEO today, I will not have not one woman supporting me in order for me to succeed in the CEO role. But when it comes to men, a
They
man
will.
will take a job that he doesn't know how to do, but he will have lots of other men around him
That will
soundboard,
support.
Giving me
that will
Absolutely.
support.
Yes.
So what is it? So we don't, women. It's not a women phenomenon not to support each other, because if you can support me when I'm diagnosed with cancer, it means that you have it in you to support me.
Absolutely.
Why are we
definitely.
selective when it comes to supporting each other? Hence, I was asking, the women movement agenda is big. But there's this big elephant in the room that we still need to address around.
And you still feel it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We,
I think
we
we must
can
talk
support
about
each
it,
other
yes.
because of gender-based
Yes.
violence. But can you support me when I'm CEO?
That's yes, that's the thing. But I think it's because women think that a man would rather look after, like a family man would look after the entire family. So they would look at a woman and maybe think, okay, women don't have that same qualities. Which I actually think is completely incorrect. Because if you look at motherhood, I mean, we are way more community driven. And that's why they say women need to step up, women need to become CEOs. And there was even...
I want to see more female CEOs.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And they also actually had a study, a study at the United Nations, that countries with most empowered women is in actual fact a happier country, and they
Progressive.
more
I know
progressive, like
New
Sweden.
Zealand's got,
Look
New
at
Zealand's
Sweden.
got a female
Yes, and
president.
also peace.
Yeah,
Very
and
important.
the other day she made a law that women that miscarry get
Yes.
maternity leave.
Oh.
Because you know, in our
absolutely.
country today, you miscarry, and then the next day you're expected to be at work. If not, then you take annual leave. She's saying, no, you've had a baby. Well,
Yes,
you know,
technically.
so you therefore need to stay home, and because there are other things that
You
come
might
with
not be
that.
taking a baby home, but you've
Yeah.
experienced everything else.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I kind of like that. I saw that last week. I
Yeah,
think,
that's
and I was so
amazing.
excited.
And that's
about
also
it.
being having a female
Yeah.
leader. Because the man,
Yes.
let's face it, they will not think about it. If they could, they would have.
Yes.
They will not think about it.
Because they don't.
No.
Yes,
no.
and another
It's-
thing.
They
Yeah.
can't. They're not capable because they're not thinking like that. They don't know what you're going through. And it is up to us to be empowered enough to have a voice.
But
That's what
even
it's
though
about.
they don't know it, I do think that any leader needs to be
Yes.
inclusive,
To
whether
ask.
male or female. So, you know,
Yes.
this needed to have been thought of either
Yes.
way, whether you go through it or you don't go through it. As a leader, you've got to make decisions for people.
Yeah.
You know, and
Create room.
people are
Absolutely,
included,
bringing that humanity
including
in.
women
even-
as well.
It's very important to bring it into a working environment because happy people actually work harder. And I've noticed another problem with cultural conditioning is the fact that boys were taught that you have to be tough and you don't cry and you have to stand up and man up. And especially in an environment
And
where
men
it's
up
very,
can also mean pride.
yes, and
Yeah.
unbelievable, yes.
Yeah.
So it is also, if women are more involved, we can also embrace that to say, hey, a woman is emotional, but so can a man be emotional.
So we
So-
also
And it's
as-
okay
as-
to be
Yes, and it's
emotional.
actually okay.
There's room
So
for
let's
it.
rather understand each other
So
and
we
have better
as women as
communication.
well as mothers need to teach our boys to cry. Well,
Yes.
we're not going to intentionally say cry.
Yes, no,
but
absolutely.
It's okay.
Yes, to
It's-
feel.
It's okay to
Yes.
to hug him and say, you know, let it out.
But also even in the
Yes.
workplace now, we are saying we want emotions back. We are sick and tired of people who are not feeling in the workplace. That's what's wrong with the
True.
workplace
Yeah.
now. Be emotional.
Yeah.
Give me your
Be
first
okay.
reaction. Give me
Yeah.
your wild reaction.
Yes.
Give me
Yeah.
your natural. Don't give me the tame one.
Yeah.
Don't give me the
Because it is a
conditioned one.
myth. I mean, you can't leave your problems at the door, right?
No.
Yes.
You can't. Because the problems are within you.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
bring them with.
They
Let's
have
talk
to-
about them.
And
Yes.
it's, you know that from when you drive, like how happy you are that you work from home. But
Yeah.
you know what it's like to drive to work and you have a problem in the traffic. You take that into the office.
Correct.
In any case, yes,
Yeah.
they should actually have, better counselling services as well for people with problems. They are starting to do it now,
No,
but
I think that does exist. I think a lot of
Yes.
organizations have
No,
improved.
but
Yes.
I think people are doing lip service to these things. Like if there will be an office in the workplace for you having problems, but there's a stigma attached to it.
Correct.
So we need
As
to
soon
do,
as you call that
yeah.
number,
So we need to do a
Yeah.
little bit more. We need to do a little bit more in allow. That's what diversity
Yeah.
is. It's
Yeah.
allowing people to have problems. That it's okay to appear not so perfect. It's okay to be weak. It's okay,
okay.
to be emotional.
yeah,
So what?
Yeah. And you're actually right, Vanya, because I'm in the corporate environment. There's a whole team that does diversity and
Yes.
inclusion. But listen, it's a tick box exercise,
There we
right?
go.
absolutely.
We have events, we create awareness, and but the actual transformation is it's not happening. We are not seeing the results. But in terms of our books, we've got a D&I program.
The system is there.
The presentation
absolutely.
is great. The presentation is awesome. But we're not seeing the results.
now
as
let's
well.
be
Yes,
genuine about
absolutely,
it.
because we need
Yeah.
to put the human in it as
Yeah.
well and to drive it. And, we had so many discussions on emotions and people. And so empathy is extremely important.
Oh.
We need it, definitely. And that it creates a happy workforce. Yes, we do. We need to concentrate on work. We need to get the job done. But most of the time, if a person is happier, he works better. So I think it's important that you have that, yes, once again, a community, even within in a workforce. I mean, I look at with my, in my own scenario, I would walk into a company and it's a great company that I'm working for. And we actually discuss in the mornings and say, I really had a bad trip to work. And why are you so grumpy this morning? And I would say, I didn't really sleep properly last night. And then another person will understand it from, there's not that open communication. And that's what I love about internet today. And, you know, the fact that we can all, like Vanya said,
Connect.
we're starting to connect with one another. So that's why we are in interesting times, because we actually never had that. And now that we're really starting to communicate, I think all the problems are coming out.
Yeah.
When
And
people started eating dinner during lockdown on Zoom, I thought that was so innovative.
it was great though.
People are living alone,
Yeah.
they connect with others.
Yeah.
That's a nice one.
So I used to have WhatsApp drinks with my friends. I mean, we'd all have glasses of wine.
sociable, in your own place.
And I don't have to worry about drinking and driving, right?
There we
It
go.
was great.
There you go.
So ladies, I just want to move to what are you guys busy with? You know, this wild sisterhood in the South African context. What are you guys busy with? What are the initiatives that you're currently running?
Okay.
And what are the plans, you know, to...
We've got quite a lot of plans, and we obviously want to be part of the community, and we want to definitely just a part of women empowerment. We want to see what we can do also to help drive the economy. So we've got quite a lot of incentives, and for example, applying for a membership card, and then using this membership card and getting discount at various stores, you know, supporting the Wild Women Sisterhood concept and idea. And that's obviously now paying for the card, and then all proceeds will obviously go to allocated NGOs that is active in the community, and then also
for women.
And even for child, you know, against child trafficking. And we also want to look at how we're going to combat poverty, because that is, you know, also a great concern, because I think that is what makes most people angrier, apart from just the gender-based, you know, violence. It creates division. Yes, absolutely. So we need to address that as well, and we need to be inclusive and looking at entrepreneurial skills. And we've got lots of ideas currently as to how we're going to improve our environment. It's like Mother Teresa said, if you want to change the world, start at home. You know, and this is Wild Women's Sisterhood South Africa. So I've got a lady from America that contacted me previously and say, wow, you guys are having fun, and you're doing protests, and we're not doing anything. All we're doing is arguing.
Protests are a South African thing, guys.
Yes, absolutely. And so we don't want to be, we are not a feminist organization, if you can say that. We rather want to look at creating happier women, because happier women are better mothers, are better contributors, better
So are men
value
also
adders.
can men join the groups as
They
well?
can't join the group though, because it's intimate discussions. And yes, the reason is, and you know, they can stir. They can stir quite a bit, because we are just trying to get along and start to get to know each other. But on our page, more than welcome to join and to comment and to see what it's all about. We need their support. We definitely need their support, and so they can understand what is.
So they can show more empathy.
Yes, absolutely. We do need empathy.
So are we saying men are not empathetic?
We can't say that. It's a very harsh.
I'm saying they must demonstrate. People need to demonstrate more empathy. You know, empathy is the strength like vulnerability.
Yes.
You know, in South Africa, we've been we in the past we used to compete a lot with India for our call centers.
Yes. We still do even today.
But here's the thing: they are saying South Africa is winning the battle because South Africans are nicer people. When you phone, you say, "I've had an accident." The first person you speak to in South Africa will say, "Oh, are you okay?"
Yes.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
But anyone else, they'll be like, "Okay, so what's your number?
What's your policy number?"
They go straight to, they're efficient. They get efficient on your ass. But in South Africa, and it's natural. You don't train that. That's just who we are.
We definitely have that.
And these are some of the things that we need to be aware of, and we embrace them, and we bottle them, and we sell them, we export them.
Correct. Correct.
You know, this humanity we have, that Ubuntu, it's a thing that we have in South Africa.
Definitely.
And that's how people see us. We might not think it's an asset, but other people outside, when they look at us, they see our diversity. They see those qualities.
It's definitely a strength of ours.
Yes, but now, what is it doing for us?
What is it doing for us? Yeah, we need to tap into that. Wow.
No,
Ladies,
definitely. That is our export, you know, trade, if you can say that. Our absolutely
something to sell. Yeah. Ladies, thank you so much. For
only a pleasure.
I really enjoyed this conversation, and I think for me, it's really just about, you know, improving. So the move, we're getting there. The movement is there.
Yeah.
We know what we want out of the movement, but let's improve it. Let's polish it. Let's deal with the pulling her down syndrome.
Yes.
Let's deal with the competitiveness amongst ourselves. Let's deal with understanding each other and know your goal is this, mine is this, but we can help each other so we both can
collaborate, like she says, very important.
Where we need to
networking.
go to. So thank you so much for joining. It was really a pleasure having you.
Cheers. Cheers and all the best. Thank you. And a beautiful set. Thank you. Inspiring.
Wonderful, really. Thank you.
Right. Thank you so much for watching that conversation, guys. It was such once again, an interesting conversation. I think for me, it's really just about, we are seeing the movements for women. They are increasingly coming up. We understand what the goal of those are. It's networking and standing up and standing together as women to drive, some of the change that we want to see. But I think for me, it's, we've got to introduce the ability to understand that we are not competing, to understand that we are, we want the same thing, yet we might drive it in different ways. And I think supporting each other is really, really, really important. Like I said earlier on, if I got a job as CEO today, I would really want a bunch of women sitting around me and supporting me to succeed. Thank you so much for tuning in. Guys, please don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. If you do have a question for Vanya or Amanda, please drop a comment and I will definitely ask them to answer your question. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's been real.